Hi, this is Rob Leo, and in this tutorial we're going to take a look at Powtoon, an online way to create animated presentations. I'm here at powtoon.com. Once you land here, you want to sign up for your account in the top right corner. There's a sign up button that allows you to sign up with Google. And if you're working on a Chromebook, you should already be logged into your Google account. You're simply going to select which account you're going to be using. Typically that's going to be your westgenesee.org account. You do want to note that once you sign up, you have 95 hours of premium features at your disposal. Of course, I tend to use just the free features, but please note that the freemium model offers all sorts of great stuff, but then the really great stuff you have to pay for. So keep that in mind as you're moving forward. And Powtoon will tell you periodically if something is premium or if it's free. Notice also there's a support link at the top of the screen with a help center and tutorials. The information here is outstanding. If you go to the help center, for example, you'll see that they have all sorts of articles. So if you need help getting started, you can click on show all and it will show you exactly what you need to do in terms of documentation. If you go to the tutorials page, again, they have some great videos here for how to do some of the basic tasks in Powtoon. The hardest part is being creative and having a good storyboard in mind for what it is you want to do. Once you get accustomed to using Powtoon's interface, you'll see that the way you add text or objects or scenes all works in a pretty consistent fashion. Let's just get started. Let's click Create. Your options when you create are either starting from scratch, building your scene, your story scene by scene, or customizing a template. And what I want to do is simply start from scratch so you can kind of see a blank canvas. If you do a storyboard mode, you could add different scenes to your story, and Powtoon will guide you in creating that. Or you could take a template someone has already made and just edit out the words if you choose to. But let's just start from scratch. When you first land here, it's going to ask you to choose a look for your Powtoon. You can choose any one of these. I would encourage you to experiment a little bit. I'm going to choose the cartoon one. They all have their own package of different characters, different text styles, different scenes, different backgrounds. It's kind of fun to look through and explore. Like I said, I'm simply going to click the cartoon version to get started. And now that I have a blank canvas, you're going to be confronted with a pretty familiar interface, I think. If you've ever made a PowerPoint presentation or a Google Slides presentation, you'll notice that you have a slides sorter on the left-hand side of your screen and a main canvas in the center of your page. If you want to add slides, of course, you can just click Add Slide. We're just going to build a few slides here just as some examples, and we're going to try to use as many elements as we can from Powtoon's menu. You can see that menu on the far right, from scenes to backgrounds to text to characters to objects, graphs, sounds, media, and specials. If we start, though, I'm just going to start with some text. And when you do that, you can add a title, subtitle, or body text. Start typing. Make that one line of text. Just going to move this up to the top of the screen. Let me add another title box. And we'll add one more title box. All right, so we've got three things on the page here. Notice my timeline on the bottom of the screen is now populated with one text box, a second text box, and a third text box. And the timeline indicates when these objects are going to enter the scene. We'll worry about manipulating that in a few moments, but let's just play with the text a little bit. I've got, like I said, three text boxes here. When I click on them, there are handles, so if you need to stretch them out or pull them back together, you can kind of use your mouse and make them as large or as small as you like. Notice too that there is a gear. What that gear will let you do is pick some different font styles, and you should see the changes instantly. If you want to change the font size, for example, bring this back down. I'll bring it down to about 45. And it's really just trial and error what I'm doing here. You can do bold, italicized, or underlined text. You can make it centered or left or right justified. You can also change the color. You can also change the special effects. So what I want to do with the effects is I want to make each one of these text boxes do something a little bit different. So we'll start off by doing a a scale effect. That notice the words will pop in word by word. In the middle box, we'll do something similar. I'm going to choose a different font for this one. We'll go retro, and we'll make this a lot bigger. That's going to be the centerpiece of our title. All right, so I'll make it a different color. We will also, once I pick my color here, I'm all set with that. Just double click it again. I'm going to change the effect to be handwritten. I want to drag the text box so it's all one line. And then my final effect here, we'll pick yet another font. Let's go with familiar. We'll make this a little bit bigger. We'll change the color. And then we'll change the special effects. I think you get the idea of what these effects do. Let's take a look instead at the A to B. What that will do is allow you to kind of drag from point A to point B. So we'll make this kind of start here. And we'll actually make it fly to the bottom corner of the screen. So you just kind of place those elements where you'd like. All right, I've got things lined up. Notice it starts here, but we know it's going to end there. And notice too, down in the bottom of the screen, my timeline, I want each one of these things to kind of come in for a little bit of a dramatic effect. So when I click on the timeline, I have two text boxes that appear to be timed at the same spot. So notice the first one, awesome and exciting. I want that to appear first. So I'm going to click on that and drag it so that it starts at 1 second and stays on the screen until 8 seconds. In fact, I'm going to make this an 8-second slide instead of a 10-second slide. I'm just going to do that with the plus and minus. And like I said, I want this to be about 8 seconds. Notice too that you have these little tools, the pop exit effect. If I click on that, I can decide how the text is going to either enter or exit the screen. Let's say I want awesome and exciting to exit to the left. The Chrome apps text box, I want that to appear at 2 seconds. And then the for school effect, I would like that to appear at 3 seconds. So each one of my text boxes is set to be at a different time on my timeline. You'll see when I drag the player back to the beginning what all that entails, but let's just continue editing real quick. I made this exit to the left. Let's make this one, if I look at the effect here, let's make this one fly up, and let's make the school one exit so it flies down. Alrighty, so back to my timeline. Time to play it and preview it and see how it works. So about 1 second. Awesome and exciting, Chrome apps for school. So I really animated the text on the page. I'm not too happy with where this landed, but you can kind of see how each thing exited the page all at once. Let me go back to this and just re-edit point A to B. I'd like this to appear here. Let's make it fly in from the top of the screen and see how that looks. So once again, 1 second, awesome and exciting, Chrome apps for school. Looks pretty good. I don't think I need a full 8 seconds for this slide. So I'm just going to reduce this a little bit to 7 seconds. Let's make it 6 seconds. And then let's spread it out so this appears at 4 seconds. We'll make this at 2.5. Actually, we'll make this 4.5. Let's play it one more time. Again, a lot of this is trial and error just to get it the way you want. Awesome and exciting, Chrome apps for school. Looks great. Everything exited the way I wanted to. I'm ready to move on to a new slide. Let me just click Add a Slide. All right, on our new slide, instead of building text with different title, subtitle, or body text styles, you can add designed text. And what that means is you have text overlays, text elements, text titles, all sorts of stuff that you can incorporate into your presentation. If you click on infographics, for example, you have all sorts of stuff you can add to your scene and edit. So you could insert your text in each one of these things. So let's say I want to do an example of inserting like 3 different Chrome apps that I want to feature. I could use this potentially as an example. If I'm not satisfied with that and I want to delete it, now that I've selected it, I'm just going to press backspace on my keyboard or delete on my keyboard, and it will go away. If you don't want infographic style, maybe you want some text overlays, you can kind of see all the different stuff they have on your in the gallery. So you can kind of experiment with what they have as far as text overlays or text elements. If you need bubble speech, for example, you can click on that, put it in your scene. The speech bubble, for example, is resizable. You can just click on that and move it. Notice that 2 things don't move together, so you don't want to manipulate your text to fit inside of this. You can rotate stuff. Actually, what did I do there? You got different shapes. You can switch stuff out. My bad. You can flip stuff. So if you need your speech bubble to be in a different direction, you could. You also have this little angle here to rotate stuff. If you click and drag those arrows, you can move it where you want to move it. Again, half the fun is experimenting with some of the stuff they have here. Let's move on, though. Instead of adding some of the text that they have here, let's take a look at some of the other features that they have on each slide. So you could add characters to your presentation. And again, they have all sorts of character packs. Notice Pro or Business would require an account upgrade. So we're simply going to stick to the ones that are free. It gives you the Office or the Pleasant style. Let's click on the Office and add a person to our slide presentation. It's just a matter of picking which one you like. And once you've selected one, it's editable. You can drag it around. You can resize it. And like the text box, it also has a gear. So if you wanted to change the settings for this, you could. Notice they have different poses. So right now, our character is saying hello. The character could do a happy pose. You could do an idea pose. And again, half the fun is experimenting. They have typing, sad, angry, and thinking. Let's pick on thinking, for example. Notice, too, that they also have, if you click on the gear, they also have animation. So you could either loop the animation or choose to turn the animation off. This is looped. It's going to play 5 times. So when I play, just drag this back, she's in the thinking pose. And when I play that, you'll see her thinking with animation. And it's looped to do it 5 times. And this slide isn't long enough to handle that, but you get the idea. And that will be true for any one of these characters that you insert into your scene. Notice she does appear in the timeline at 1 second. Let me have her come in at the very beginning of the presentation. And again, this little arrow, I could have her fly in from the right, fly in from the left, turn off the effect of how she appears on the scene, have her come from the bottom and go up, come from the top and go down, or pop onto the scene itself. You also have a fade effect as well. Let's make her pop on the scene. Notice it changes the timeline for me automatically. And when I preview that, we should see her kind of all of a sudden pop on the scene. Let's add an object to our character. So we've done text, we've done characters. Let's add an object. I'd like her to add like a light bulb over her head. I'm just going to do a search at the top of the screen for light bulb. And it's looking for light and for bulb. Notice there's a couple different free ones. I've got one here. I'm just going to click on it. I'm going to drag it over her head. I would like this light bulb to be a little bit smaller. And I would like to drag when the light bulb appears to about 1.5 seconds. We're going to have it pop over her head. Actually, let's have this come down from the top and land over her head. That'll be fun. And then I'm going to add some text so that she can kind of express what it is, what the message is I'd like to get across in this particular slide. So to do that, I'm just going to click on the text editor, and I am going to stop looking for light bulbs and just add a normal title text. Let's word it this way. What are your lesson goals? We'll just move this to the top of the screen to get started. And let's change this. I'm okay with that font. Let's just change the color. What would you like students to do? Let's say we offer up some options. I'm just going to type these for the sake of saving time. I am going to pause the video. When I return, you should see some text back on the page. All right, so I added some text to my scene. Notice this is timed right now for the character to appear at about a half a second. We've got a light bulb dropping in over her head at about 1.5 seconds. Then my text is going to appear on the scene. My first text box is going to let's make it come in with a typing effect. That will stay on the scene for the entire length of the slide, all the way to 10 seconds. Our second text box, I want this one to fade in. Actually, I want each one of these to fade in. So we'll set our effect for each one of those. And they're timed out so that the first text box, students will create a presentation to share information. We're going to come in at 4 seconds. Our next one, students will create a poster graphic to share information. We'll come in at 6 seconds. And then our final one will come in at 8 seconds. The whole slide is a 10-second slide. Let's get a preview for how that might look. There's the person, there's the light bulb, there's the text typing in, and fade in. Fantastic. I think I'm ready to move on to another slide. But just to recap what we've done so far, we've added text, we've added characters, we've added objects, we've edited each one to make it just how we want, and we've set up the timeline for when stuff appears and disappears on our scene. Up next, we're going to add a new slide, and this time we're going to add a scene and kind of put our character in a specific situation. Notice you can look at specifics, you can look at situations or concepts or calls to action. Each one of these packages is meant to help you create just the right special effect for your presentation. Let's take a look at situations. What I want to look for is like a classroom look, and it looks like this one is decent. I've also got somebody sitting at a desk, which looks pretty good. So again, half the battle is finding one you like, but let's go with the classroom look. And by adding that scene, oops, this one contains some premium features. Upgrade now. I don't want the premium features. I'm going to remove all the premium items, and that leaves us with just the basics. So let's add a character to this. Let's return to our presenter. We're going to put her on the right-hand side. Can make her wave in the other direction if I choose to. Can increase the size of the character. What I want to do first is kind of go back and remind myself of the 3 things that I wanted students to do. In this case, I want students to create a presentation to share information. I'm just going to copy that text, and I'm going to return to my next slide, and I am going to edit this one and paste in I want students to do. Now, obviously 100 is way too large. Let me reduce the size of that. It's going to take a number of clicks to get down to the size that I want. If I prefer, let's actually make it an easier way to do this. I'm just going to copy the text box in general without selecting the text first. And I am just going to paste that in to this slide. Perfect. And with this text, instead of pasting in the whole text box, I'm just going to put the tool I wanted to use for this. I was going to recommend Powtoon as a tool. Let me just rotate this. And let's go back to that larger font size. This was 100 originally. $85 looks good enough. I'd also like to include the Powtoon logo, so bear with me. I'm just going to download and save that from the internet, and then I'm going to add it to my media. Alrighty, so I've got my picture saved in my computer. Notice there's a My Media section. What I want to do is just upload stuff to My Media. I'm simply going to click Add Media, and it says upload image or upload a video background just in beta, or you can import stuff from your Google account, your Dropbox, Instagram, or Facebook. We're just going to go with upload image. And this is the image I'd like to use. Now that it's part of my media, you can see it in my media library, and I can move this onto the scene and change the size of it. Let's rotate this again just for fun. And now I need to set up my timeline. So notice down at the bottom, I just added a bunch of random elements. The whole slide is meant to last 5 seconds. Let me increase the timing of the slide first to about 10 seconds just to experiment. I want my person to appear in the very beginning. I wanted my guiding question to appear relatively close to the beginning. Actually, let me drag this to about 1 second. This is going to fade in. I'd rather have it come in with handwriting. And let's have this come in at 3 seconds. And we'll have the Powtoon logo come in at 5 seconds. I'm going to reduce the timeline of my slide here to 8 seconds. So let's see how that looks. It's rolling all the way back to the beginning, pressing play. The lady's already there. All right, totally not satisfied with that. It took way longer than I expected for her to handwrite stuff. So let me just add a couple seconds to my slide. We'll go to 12 seconds. We'll make Powtoon pop in here at about 7 or 8 seconds in. We'll make the word Powtoon appear at about 6 seconds in. Let's see how that works out. Once again, just previewing. Handwriting takes a little bit longer. There's Powtoon. There's the logo. Looks great. I don't think I need a full 12 seconds. I could probably still stop this at about 10 seconds. Instead of reinventing the wheel, I'm going to make the same slide template over and over again 3 times over. This time I'm going to click on the slide, click the dots, and notice you can duplicate the slide. And now that I've done that, you'll see a new slide appear below. I'm simply going to grab text from the other slides. Again, I'm going to copy this. I'm using Control-C on my keyboard. I'm going to paste that in. All right. I want to grab a different color. Let's do that one more time. There's the orange one. We'll just delete this one. And like I did before, I'm going to add the words, and I'm going to add the logo for the tool I'm going to recommend. So if I return back to my previous slide, I want to copy this text box. I didn't have to do that. It was already here. Let me just edit the words to this. This one, I'm going to use Canva as a recommendation. And in a moment, I'll be adding the logo for Canva. We're going to return to that skill of adding media. Notice I'm on the My Media page. Let me just add the rest of my pictures. I'm going to use the WeVideo logo. I'm going to see if I can use 2 things at once. I'm going to press Control on my keyboard and see if I can select both of those, and sure enough, I can. And now I should have the Canva and the WeVideo logos as part of my media. I can see WeVideo. It doesn't look like Canva came through. Let me try that one more time. So maybe you can't select multiples. Now I've got Canva. Perfect. Just resize this, move it around. This appeared at 6 seconds in. Notice my Canva stacked on top of the text of Canva. We've got a couple different things here. I'm going to move this over to 6 seconds, and I'm going to make sure I delete the Powtoon one. So I've got my lady, I've got students can do this, I've got Canva, I've got that. Looks good. Let me do this one more time, simply duplicating yet one more slide. And then one more time, I'm going to change the text around. I want to grab this line of text, so I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste it in. My original, bring this back up. We're going to make that appear at about 2 seconds. Instead of Canva, we're going to edit that. We're going to say WeVideo. And for my image, I thought there was a swap image button here. I can flip it, I can crop it, I can edit, or I could swap. Let's pick from my media the WeVideo logo. Fantastic. Just drag this in the corner here, make it a little bit larger. But the nice thing is my timings are all set from the previous scene. So if I was to play this one, there's the lady, still waving. I notice I lost some special effects. If I go back to this student one, I'm going to click on the gears. Remember, that was handwritten in the previous slide. Let's go back to handwriting. Let's do the same thing here. And we'll make it consistent. And we'll go with the handwriting effect as well. I think I'm all set. I think I have everything just how I want it. Of course, you want to do a run through. I'm going to pretend I've already done that, and I'm simply going to wrap this up. Notice I haven't given it a title yet. We call it Chrome Apps for School. One last thing, I guess, before I start, the lady's waving. She looks great here. Let's make her do something else. We'll change her pose to an idea. And then we'll change her pose in the last scene. Let's see, she was happy in the beginning, or she said hello in the beginning. She had an idea. Let's make her be happy at the end. All right, let's wrap it up. We're going to export this. And you simply have to click the Create button. All this other stuff is part of their premium service. We'll click Create, and that will put it on Canva itself and give you the opportunity to link to it. We just need to select a category. We're going to pick Education, and these will be public. Private is for the premium account, unlisted, private. Again, we're going with public because it's a free account. We're going to click Next. We can't hide the branding because this is, once again, a free account, and it's going to be in standard definition 480p. We'll simply click Export Powtoon. Once we've met with success, you can kind of see, congratulations, your Powtoon's published, it's ready to share. There is a link icon you can share. I did forget to do one thing, so before I even preview this, actually, I'll press play so you can see what I've done so far. Looks good so far. I'd probably make a few edits as I go. But for the purposes of this exercise, I think you kind of get the idea of adding text, adding images, uploading media, and then setting up your timing so things appear just when you want them to appear. But the missing piece is the background music. So let's pause this for just a moment. I'm going to go to My Powtoons. That's where this lives. You can see that there is a pencil icon I can edit. All right, and the last thing I wanted to add, now that I'm back in edit mode, I want to add some sound. You could add music, you could add your own voiceover. If you choose to talk in your Powtoon, you could add your own voice. You could look in My Music, or you could look at any of the templates that they already have here. Let's pick something acoustic for this. If you want to preview it, notice again you've got business. We're going to cancel that one. I clicked too early. The free ones, you can either click use or notice there's business or pro. But again, we have the free account. Let's see what the proposed sounds like. Again, half the fun is finding one you like. We'll try explain away. That's perfect. That's the one I want. We'll use it. Now, when I export it one more time, we should be able to see the finished product with the music added in the background. Even though the music is 1:25, it'll still end when the rest of the slideshow ends. And again, while this is loading, to share this, you would click the link icon. This is already set to public because it's a free account. If you want students to turn this into you, you could turn link sharing on. They could copy the link, and then they could share it with you via Google Classroom. Let's hear the finished product. And that last bit at the end is their watermark. Whoops, sorry about that. So link sharing is turned on. Let's go back to our main My Powtoons page. I just need to grab the right link. I want to make sure I do this properly. Let's try this one more time. I'm going to assume that if I click the chain link here, I should see, for whatever reason, I should see a link for it. Bear with me just one sec so I can find that. All right, so I'm previewing one last time. I think this is the link you would share. I'm just going to copy this, and I am going to pull over a new browser, different account. I'm just going to paste it in to see if that takes us to the right spot. And sure enough, again, it's public, just waiting for it to load. I'm not logged into any account. You can see I can sign up for free. Nonetheless, I can still see the finished product. So once again, to retrieve that link, let me just see if this works. It does. So to retrieve that link, once again, as you export your Powtoon, you're going to create, go to the next slide, export it. And again, at the top of the screen, as you're previewing it, you can share this link that you see at the top, and then you can share that to Google Classroom, share it in an email, or share it on a website. A lot to handle here. Best bet is to just experiment and see what's going on, and trial and error. But notice too, you have the support page for the Help Center and the tutorials. Thanks for listening. I apologize for this lengthy video demonstration, but there's a lot to cover in Powtoon, and I figure I'd do it in one shot rather than go step by step with 6 different videos. Thanks for listening, and I hope you found this useful.